Look at this image. Endless sand, scorching heat, a place where life goes to die. The Sahara Desert is the largest hot desert on Earth. It is the definition of wasteland. But deep inside this desert, in a place called the Gilf Kebir Plateau, hidden in a cave, there is a painting that shouldn't exist. It was drawn thousands of years ago. It doesn't show camels. It doesn't show sand. It shows people swimming. They aren't swimming in a mirage. They are swimming in deep blue water. Because 10,000 years ago, the Sahara wasn't a desert. It was a green paradise. It was filled with massive lakes, rushing rivers, and lush jungles. It was home to hippos, giraffes, and early human civilizations. And then, almost overnight, it vanished. What happened? How does an entire jungle turn into dust? And the scariest question of all, could it happen again? Welcome to Era by Era. Today we are uncovering the lost world of the Green Sahara. To understand how strange this is, we have to look at the scale. The Sahara is roughly the size of the United States. Imagine the entire United States being covered in thick forests and grasslands. That was North Africa just a few millennia ago. Scientists call this period the African Humid Period, but let's call it what it really was, the Green Sahara. The crown jewel of this lost world was Mega Lake Chad. Today, Lake Chad is shrinking, but back then, it was wider than the Caspian Sea. It was one of the largest freshwater lakes on the planet. If you stood on its shores 7,000 years ago, you wouldn't see dunes, you would see fishermen. Archaeologists digging in the middle of the empty desert have found fish hooks made of bone. They have found harpoons. They have found huge piles of clam shells. Think about that. You're standing in the middle of the driest place on Earth, digging up clam shells. In 2000, paleontologists led by Paul Sereno were looking for dinosaur bones in Niger. Instead, they stumbled upon a graveyard of human skeletons buried alongside remains of massive crocodiles and hippos. They were buried with flowers. These people weren't fighting for survival. They were thriving. This wasn't a temporary garden. This was a civilization engine. But engines can break. So who killed the Green Sahara? Was it climate change? Was it humans? Actually, it was space. To understand the Sahara, you have to look up. The Earth does not spin perfectly. It wobbles. Imagine a spinning top on a table. As it slows down, the top starts to wobble back and forth. Earth does the exact same thing. This is called orbital precession. It is a 23,000-year cycle. 9,000 years ago, this wobble was different. The Earth was tilted slightly more towards the sun during the Northern Hemisphere's summer. This tilt seems small, but it changed everything. It heated up the land in North Africa just a few degrees more. That heat created low pressure, and that low pressure acted like a giant vacuum cleaner. It sucked in moisture from the Atlantic Ocean. This pulled the African monsoon rains northward. The rains that usually fall over the equator were dragged up right over the Sahara. For thousands of years, the desert was drowned in rain. It was a simple celestial clockwork mechanism. But the problem with clockwork is, eventually, the gears shift. About 5,000 years ago, the wobble shifted back. The Earth tilted away. The sun wasn't as intense. The giant vacuum cleaner of low pressure turned off. Now, you might think this happened slowly. You might think the jungle turned into a desert over thousands of years, giving humans plenty of time to pack their bags. You would be wrong. New studies of dust samples off the coast of Africa suggest the end of the Green Sahara was brutal. It was fast. It might have happened in just a few centuries, or perhaps even a few decades. It's what scientists call a tipping point. Here's why it was so fast. It's a feedback loop. As the rain decreased, the plants started to die. When plants die, the soil loses its ability to hold water. When the soil dries out, it becomes light-colored sand. Sand reflects more sunlight back into the atmosphere, which cools the air above it. Less rain kills more plants. It's a death spiral. Once the process started, the Green Sahara didn't just fade away, it collapsed. The lakes evaporated, the hippos died in the mud, and the humans? They had a choice: move or die. This climate disaster is actually the reason you're watching this video. It's the reason we have history books. When the water vanished, millions of people living in the Green Sahara had nowhere to go. They were squeezed from all sides. They were forced to migrate toward the only permanent source of water left in North Africa, the Nile River. Before the Sahara dried up, the Nile Valley was a swampy, dangerous jungle. But as the desert closed in, it became an oasis. Suddenly, you had thousands of different tribes, cultures, and technologies, all crammed into one narrow strip of land along the river. They had to organize, they had to build irrigation, they had to have leaders. Historians believe this mass migration is what kickstarted the pharaonic civilization. The drying of the Sahara forced humanity to invent ancient Egypt. Without the climate collapse, the pyramids might never have been built. The greatest empire of the ancient world was born from a climate refugee crisis. Today, the Sahara is quiet. It's a place of silence and preservation. The tools, the bones, and the paintings are still there, perfectly preserved by the dry sand that killed them. But remember the Earth's wobble? Remember the 23,000-year cycle? It hasn't stopped. Scientists predict that in about 15,000 years, the wobble will return. The monsoons will shift north again. The aquifers will refill. The grass will shatter the stones. The Sahara is just sleeping. We look at the map and think the world is permanent, but the Green Sahara proves that the ground beneath our feet is always changing. We're just lucky enough to be living in the dry season. If you enjoyed this journey into the lost past, make sure to like and subscribe to Era by Era. And tell me in the comments, if we found a lost city under the Sahara tomorrow, what do you think we would find inside? Thanks for watching.